Well, it's that time again. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the interview with Craig-Veltri.
Thank you, Megan Pennington. And welcome. I don't know what to do with my hands to the interview. We are joined by a global ambassador of good vibes. He is an indie folk Americana songwriter whose work reads like a timeline, not just for his life, but for the life of his family. His latest single, Where We Come From, frames his family history in a song based on a conversation for a school project. We will play Where We Come From at the end of this episode. Recording in Pittsburgh and calling in from Silver Springs, Maryland, here he is, Eli Lev. Eli, welcome to the interview.
Woo! Happy to be here, Craig. Thanks for having me.
In one of your songs, you name check Silver Springs, Maryland as the place where you first got an old guitar. Is that the same guitar that you used on the song in question? And what is your earliest memory with that guitar?
Yeah, so there's a store here called Chuck Levin's, and it's like a legendary, iconic music store. And that's where I got my first guitar, which was actually electric and way too cool for me back then. It was a
Oh, really?
Ibanez, it was an Ibanez purple electric guitar with double humbuckers, super shredder. I didn't even know how to play chords yet. I just
Yeah,
thought it looked
definitely high, definitely high above that. It's like buying a Frankenstein guitar with the EVH patterns
yes.
on it.
Yes, I was way out of my league. So that's not the guitar that I play with anymore. But I did get my current guitar at Chuck Levin's, which is a Taylor Mini. And it's been my kind of go-to guitar. It's my touring guitar. I've taken all over the world, Europe, UK, all of the USA and Canada.
So
So
how old were you when you got the purple one?
I got my first electric guitar when I was 13. Yep.
And were you writing concurrently after that point? Were you already singing?
The second I got an instrument, I was writing my own silly songs on them. Yep. So that was part of the story from very early on.
And it's a story that you seem almost methodically determined to kind of keep in order. The previous set of albums, I understand from your website, is actually a triple set of EPs, could be listened to almost as a triple album. The third edition of which I believe has yet to have been released. Can you describe the concept of those three records and why you choose to be so linear about your music?
Yeah. Thanks for doing the research. And I'm on the Three Worlds project.
Mhm.
So that started with Present Journey. Past Lives is now out, and Future Myths is on the way. I found that numbers is just a very interesting way to dive into the spiritual layer of songs and projects, and also organize my brain around what is next. Um, I really enjoy the big picture, like zooming out. So before the Three Worlds was the Four Directions. After Three Worlds is Two Friends, and after Two Friends is One Road, and then I retire, and that's it for the career.
You're planning on packing it up after these projects are out of the way. Why?
That's it. Yeah. So um, it's just good to have a scope. It feels good to have a scope, just to know like this is the beginning. I'm in this process. There's an end. So I am enjoying every show. I'm enjoying every release. I'm very conscious. Every song, every connection made is very special. So it is a limited run, and it feels good just to have that story around the whole project.
Well, the question I think that stands out there just to have the scope in the project, what are the outside factors that are making this decision so finite? Why is there an expiration date on this?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think they say, Craig, that like creativity actually flourishes within boundaries. So you give yourself like a very hard set of rules, and that's where creativity actually can really kind of come alive. You can see this with a variety of kind of subjects, painting, art, music, even novels, having a
Especially with
series.
painting, if you don't have the structure and you don't keep between the lines, it just comes out as a mess or just a Pollock.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it actually allows me to be more present, more aware, and I would say more grateful for the opportunity to write and record and share the songs live with folks.
Well, the stories that you tell are very vivid and very concise, and especially with this one, this latest one, Where We Come From, is I said that it was framed in a conversation for a school project. The way you set the song up is that you have a project from school, tell us your family history, and you
Hmm.
basically tell from your mom's perspective and your dad's perspective where your family come from. Is
Hmm.
this a true story?
This is a true story. Yeah.
The
I don't know if
setup,
you.
at least, I know the family story has got to be
Yeah,
true.
no, it's a true story. I remember the first time I had to sit down and do my family tree when I was in like fifth grade. And my mom said, "Well, these are my parents, and this is your dad's mom and dad, and this is where they came from. This is what they did." And since then, I filled in a lot of the blanks, obviously, since fifth grade. And this project came around with really understanding the history of my dad's side from Eastern Europe. So we visited Ukraine, Belarus, Lithuania, and Poland about 4 years ago as a family. We went to go see the shtetls that my dad's side was from. And we're actually going to go on a family heritage trip to Oxford, Mississippi, where my mom was born, coming up in July. So places have a really important part in the family, and tracing those roots back just really inspired me for the project.
I haven't been to Oxford, Mississippi, but I played in Memphis quite a bit. So I've
Oh,
met a lot
nice.
of people who went to Ole Miss, so they usually make a
Yes.
weekend out of it going up to Memphis. So it's
Yes.
definitely a place that I will hopefully be getting my eyes on myself.
Yeah.
So as far as the video for this song, which you do have your father, as you mentioned, having those pictures, and you definitely name check um talking about a fire,
Hmm.
and it is obviously a an allegory and symbolism for his experience, his family's experience rather, in
Hmm.
the Holocaust,
Hmm.
which Eastern Europe in the 1930s, not a good place to be a person with the name Goldberg at that
Right.
time of life. So and you I wouldn't say you touch on it, and and it's probably the most powerful portion of the
Mm.
story, not just of the song, but obviously of your family.
Mm.
Maybe not going into too much detail about family experience and what that, but and it's in the chorus. It obviously means so much to you and your family. Being over there in the Ukraine, and where and all of that happening, can you just describe what it meant to your father to be in the video for and this story to be told?
Yeah, I appreciate you picking up on that. And that is, I think, one of the most emotionally resonant lines in the song. And the line is, we escaped the fires, they're
Mm-hmm.
still burning around the world.
Mm-hmm.
So even before the Holocaust were the pogroms
Yes.
in Eastern Europe, where villages would just go up in flames. And kind of seeing that resurgence of just bigotry and hatred and division around the world is interesting, because it's like we're coming back to this, but we've been here before. It's
Yeah,
where we
the
came
line
from.
escapes me from the song where you say it outright specifically. How did it go again?
Yeah, it's just they're still burning around the world, essentially.
Yes.
What was it? And so and also I think we're experiencing as a culture kind of collective amnesia, that we are all immigrants from somewhere, unless we were forcibly taken from our homes and brought here, or unless our lands we were here and our lands were taken away from us. So it's like it's really hard to know where we're going as individuals, as a family, as a society, and as a culture, if we don't actually know. where we came from. And so this song and this project is a way just to kind of just remind people that we have roots from somewhere else. We all went through an immigration IMM or an immigration EMM, and we've all been kind of moving in our lives to find a better life. So just trying to bring in some compassion, just some care, and tracing my specific family's history, but also applying that to listeners and, involving their stories in the music video as well.
We're here with Eli Lev on the Craig-Veltri interview, proud member of the Scarfire Media Podcast Network. For more on Scarfire Media, visit our website, scarfiremedia.com. Check out all the great podcasts here on the Scarfire Media Podcast Network, the Cool Brother Podcast, Emmy Susani's podcast, Mommy Rockstar coming soon. And thank you for listening to the Craig-Veltri interview. Like, share, and subscribe. These records that you put out in the timeline that you have put forth aside, you've taken a lot of really great liberties with than merely just the boundaries of the Americana label, which I've always kind of considered a catch-all anyway. I've even asked Americana artists, what does that even mean? It's really, it's just saying it to me. It's almost like saying I sound like Tom Petty without saying I sound like Tom Petty. But I will just I'll simply ask this. You do use a lot of electronic elements in some of your songs. How does a song usually begin for you? Is it a title? Is it a beat? Is it just where it catches you in the moment? Because you're a little bit more methodical than a lot of artists that I do tend to speak to. So are you usually going into a project, with it pretty much fully formed in your head?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think that the songwriting process can be different than the production process. So when it comes to songwriting, sometimes it'll be a melody, sometimes it'll be, a lyric. Recently, I've been writing a lot from song titles, which has been fun. And then I work with a bunch of different producers, and each producer has a different methodology on how they build a track. I work with Austin Bello in Manassas, Virginia, and we do a track in 2 days, every instrument, lay down all the vocals, and then we're out of there. And he does the mixing later. I've worked with Taylor Rigg in New York on this Past Lives project, and that is 2 weeks in the studio environment, bearing my soul, writing the songs as we're producing, candles, all around, like kind of going in essentially. And both of those are actually really fun. I enjoy both processes. I've produced with Jeff Gruber in Silver Spring, Maryland, and his way of doing things is come in, get a vocal scratch. I'll do all the instrumentation, come back and do the lead vocals after. So it really depends on the song, depends on the producer. But most of it is just listening to the creative process and seeing where the song wants to go.
Having done all those different processes, do you have a preference at this point?
Well, the Future Myths that I'm working on right now is with Taylor Rigg again. And, it's very interesting doing it where it's like I have to be patient. And while it's not like just final, it's not like, oh, I just got in the studio and did 2 days and I'm done with it. There's this very interesting thing that happens. It's this like emergence, this organic emergence. So a song won't share too much of itself until it's ready. And as an artist, I have to be patient until we get the right musicians in the right place and the right take. So that's what I'm in the middle of right now. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I would say it's sometimes the most rewarding and sometimes the best stuff comes from that.
I would say that my favorite song and the one that kind of made me want to talk to you in the first place was a duet that you did. And my current project right now is a duo project, so maybe it's on the mind at the moment. But the one that you did with Aaron Michelle, I think is how you pronounce that name.
Yes,
called No Wrong Turns. It is on brand for you. You do talk a lot about journeys and optimistically so about said journeys, and it's kind of a nice encapsulation of what you do. And if I didn't have my dumb rule of one song, one artist, it would have been the song that I would have picked. But No Wrong Turns, how did the genesis of this song begin?
Yeah, so this is actually from my upcoming album, Two Friends. And Two Friends is all collaborative. So every song is a collaboration with a different artist. Erin Michelle is probably my favorite songwriter in the world, and she just happens to live nearby and happens to be my friend. So we were like, let's write a song together. And we wanted to have the love story, we wanted to have the road trip, and we wanted to have just like, just going and feeling amazing and not feeling like there's any mistakes. So it is a fun tune, and I play that to myself sometimes when I'm on tour, when I'm having a bad day.
Just sitting there, not just with a guitar, or just putting it on your buds and having it blast in your tour bus.
Putting it on the buds and having a blast in the tour bus. That's it. Yep.
uh, so that collaborative record, which is sounds like an exciting and interesting project eventually you said that was already out, correct?
That is coming after Future Myths, but I'm kind of like releasing maybe a single or two every year. That is a collaborative single that will be on the album eventually.
What do you feel that working collaboratively, is it just another voice, another mind? Do you feel you get more out of this stuff?
I do. I mean, I write songs that I never would have alone, and it stretches me in what I can do and sing and what I'm capable of. And when there's another voice on the track, I'm always thinking about, how does my voice blend with that voice? How do we create a kind of a harmony with our styles? And it really allows me to explore different parts of the vocal register and the approach as well. So I like it. It's a good challenge.
General question about the area that you live in, just outside of DC. You're not too far from Northern Virginia. It does have a very rich hit and very eclectic history. You're not too far from Philadelphia and the R&B and blues influences that comes up. Do you give much of a factor to it's something in the water as far as your music is concerned, or is it more like interpersonal as far as where your style picks up?
Yeah, I mean, so growing up in the DMV, we've got hip hop, we've got grunge, we've got folk, we've got blues, we've got jazz, we've got go-go, we've got punk, we've got bluegrass.
I'd say punk is probably the biggest article you guys came out with.
Yeah.
See Henry Rollins, see
Yep.
several other great acts.
Fugazi.
Yeah, that's the one that was on my tongue.
Yep. So that's all here. All those sounds are here, and people think of DC as, politics and government, and that is also here. But underneath that is this really rich cultural scene. So when I was coming up as a musician, I would be on bills with electronic acts, with hip hop artists, with jazz, with Cuban, Latin and Cuban influences. And we could just have a co-bill with people just playing whatever the heck they wanted, and it would be a great show. That's kind of DC for you. So that's definitely a influence in my music. And then you add in my travels to other different, areas, and it's quite eclectic.
Well, you mentioned the personal journey that you took to the Ukraine. You've done some international touring as well. In the short amount of time you have given yourself to have a career, what is one place that you cannot wait to get back and perform?
Well, I was just in the Southwest on a personal vacation. I was a middle school teacher on the Navajo Nation in northern Arizona.
My.
And yeah, I went back to go visit that school. It's called Shanto.
What did you teach?
And I taught seventh and eighth grade language arts. I was a soccer coach, basketball coach, everything that I could do, I did in the 3 years that I was there. And it was an amazing experience. And that's actually where the Four Directions came from. So just going back there and visiting.
Is that to be the Four Corners?
Exactly. Yeah. Four Corners, Four Directions. And in the Navajo kind of cosmology, the Four Directions is important. The sun comes up in the east, and each direction has a color and a story and a sacred mountain. So that was the big influence. And then when I was there on vacation, people were like, when are you coming back with your guitar? So I'm definitely going to get a res tour going on next year where it's Southwest vibes and just kind of connecting the dots out there and back.
Probably my favorite stretch of drive that I did when I went out to California last year
Yeah.
was through New Mexico and Arizona, which is probably just some
Yes.
of the most beautiful sights of my life. I too would like to make that
Amazing.
return. Did you?
Yeah.
So you mentioned you were a teacher
Mhm.
back on that reservation. I don't want to get a loaded question like how did you wind up doing that, but how long were you a teacher, and is that something that you plan to pick up once all this is done with?
Yeah, so I actually went to Indiana University for education. So when my student teaching came around, they said, "Hey, you can teach in Indiana, you can teach overseas, you can teach in Chicago in the inner city, or we have this special program where you can do your student teaching on the Navajo Nation." And I was like, well, when in my life am I ever going to actually connect with, an indigenous population like that in a
Right.
full-on immersive environment? So I signed up for the Navajo Nation for a semester. My supervising teacher left halfway through the year and presented to me her job. So I took it and I stayed
Basically, you were an
there.
unwitting
Uh,
heir apparent at that point.
yes, the heir apparent. And I stayed for 2 years, and it was really a special experience. Just getting to know the people and the land and the culture, and I learned just as much as I taught during that time.
Is that something you've written explicitly about in your music, or is it just the themes that kind of popped up that you learned back then?
Yeah, I have a song called "A Long Way Back to Shanto." It's a hit out there about survival in the desert. I've got a song called "Treason" that actually incorporates native
I do
flute.
like treason. And
Okay.
I figured that it was mostly uh more of a reference to your Jewish roots, but so it
Mhm.
is about the natives.
It's about being in alignment and learning how to be in alignment out there. So when I say take my soul down to the river, that's spiritual alignment. When I say hold my head, sorry, soul down to the river, that's physical plane alignment. When I say hold my head up to the sky, that's spiritual alignment. So treason is about, being in that center out there. They call it hojo, which is just harmony or beauty way. So yeah, that song has a lot of those themes in it.
Well, the worth noting, congratulations belated to the Hoosiers winning the national title, and
Just
Mendoza getting the number one pick, and all that
yeah.
fun stuff. Uh, do uh, do you find yourself back in Bloomington often at all?
I try to on Midwest runs. I'm still good friends with all my IU buddies, and it's a big part of my upbringing. I went to grad school actually in IU as well, so I spent like about 7 or 8 years of my life in that town. So it definitely has a special place in my heart.
Well, the journey forward, you've already talked as far as timeline and the how far in timeline, like how many years do we have left of Eli Lev music?
I love it. Let's count it out. So I started in 2017. The Four Directions took about 5 years. Future Myths is coming probably next year. So that's 2027. We'll have Two Friends after that, 2028. And then after that, we'll have One Road, which will be 2029. 2030 will be a final farewell tour, and that'll be it.
Hmm. And you don't foresee a timeline in which the music picks up in such a way that you'd have to reconsider your timeline. You don't see a moment where it's like you don't see yourself missing this. Do you not see a loophole in this?
Do you remember that song by Goat Ye?
Somebody
Wait,
that I used to know fame,
somebody that I used to know.
that very one.
Okay. So he blew up and he peaced out. He didn't do anything else. He didn't record anything else. He said, "This is great. Thank you so much. I'm good now." And if it did pick up and if it did go and explode and people could enjoy the whole catalog, that'd be amazing. But I do think there's something important about opening up to the universe. Maybe that could happen, but also there might be things out there that I don't even know of that are coming down the pipeline.
Well, good luck either way you go. We have a nice way of closing here on the Craig-Veltri interview called the No Kidding Questionnaire. A couple of rapid fire questions. First thing that comes to your mind. Whenever you're ready, Eli, away we go. Childhood celebrity crush.
Oh, Topanga from Boy Meets World.
A very popular one for men of a certain age on this program. What was it about her? Was it the feistiness, the certain facial features, certain bodily features? What was it about her?
It was the feistiness. Yeah, it was just the expressiveness and the humor.
Follow-up question. Is that the kind of woman you found yourself dating and or I don't see a ring on your finger, but potentially long-term dating?
Yes. Yeah, I could see a future with me and Topanga sometime in the future.
Okay, so this is you shooting your shot on internet for Daniel Fishel. Gotcha.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, I mean, is that the kind of woman you find yourself dating?
Yeah, I think creative and expressive and humor, with a lot of humor and with a lot of chutzpah, as they say in Yiddish. I feel like that's important. I like the challenge, and I also like a connection. So that kind of energy, for creatives is very enticing.
You mentioned you were a teacher. What was your favorite subject in school?
I really enjoyed photography.
Photography.
I loved taking photos and doing the developing and like kind of designing things and seeing how that worked. So photography was one of my top, and racquetball. Racquetball was
Well,
top of mine.
more pertinently to your career, I noticed that a lot of the album designs are just that they're designs. They aren't really photographs. Is that something that you have implemented in maybe your branding, or is that something that's going to maybe show up on an album cover at some point?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the Four Directions is like around the mandala. The Three Worlds has this kind of like spiral thing going on. I think I'll probably keep it design based for the album art, and then I'll just do the photos for the back cover and stuff. It just feels like that's kind of
Done by
where
your own
things are.
hand, or is it?
Yeah. So the photo was done with my friend from Andorra. I used to live in Andorra for a few years. We came up with the idea ourselves. We found the different items, and we took an iPhone photo of the different artifacts. So that was done, yeah, by hand.
What occupation other than your own would you like to attempt?
Ooh, good question. I would like to set up foundations for young creatives and young artists to learn how to not only like create the music that they want, but also to get a foothold in the industry, to build their own fan bases, and to essentially learn how to get out there and be the music. I don't necessarily need like a Eli Lev Foundation. I'd rather be part of a group that does it. But I would love to be part of organizations and foundations that support young creatives.
I know a few. I'm sure you've already looked into this at this point. So, on the other side of the coin, Eli, I don't care how many bags of money have been handed to you. What job, under no circumstances, would you ever want to attempt? And yes, it can be something that you've done already.
What job would I no longer want to attempt?
Would you never want to do?
Ah, man, Craig, I tried to be a waiter for a couple summers, and I was just gosh darn awful at it. I remember they had me serve a reception dinner, like a 14 top, and like I couldn't balance a tray, so I had to bring out every drink like single handedly with my hands.
Boy.
I spilled wine on the bride. The cake was like melted and came out, and
Gosh.
they were very kind to me, but I would not want to subject any other group to that treatment ever again. So it's probably better that I don't be a waiter again.
I'm awkward and obnoxious enough being what I would call service industry adjacent on a microphone in a restaurant. I'd hesitate and halt them if they ever wanted me to work there 7 days a week as a waiter. So
Yeah.
me too.
Yeah, I think it's something that we should all like try and at least see how it works, so people know how much they work their tails off. But there are some that are better at it than others.
I see what they do from the front of the room, or sometimes overlooking it. Bless you
Yep.
all. Some of them I
Yes.
still call my friends.
Okay.
What is your go-to food on a road trip? You're hitting the road. What's your good go-to food on a road trip?
This might seem a little weird, but it might seem a little basic actually, but you can't get more bang for your buck than a bowl at Chipotle. It just does not exist.
I
So if you
have
want, yep.
I've heard this answer before, actually. So
Yep. That's just $8 and you can just keep telling them to put in food into that container. So a bowl at Chipotle will last me sometimes for two
the
or 3 days.
non-proteins and special items, let's be clear on that one. But
Yes, yes, but if you give a little wink sometimes, they'll hook you up.
maybe my wink doesn't work as well as it used to, Eli. But well, now that we may have found the venue for this, if you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Good question. I
My
think a
favorite one to
good,
ask.
yeah, I think a good dinner would be, I'd like to sit down with Bruce Springsteen and just like talk about what he has seen in his life as a musician, how he came up, and just like some of his stories. I like his music and I like his songs, and just something about his aura and his energy. I think it'd be really cool just to be around for an evening.
He knows how to weave his story through a song, and he just knows how to spin a yarn in general. I recommend
Yes.
anybody who likes Springsteen or just likes listening to a good storyteller get the audiobook of Born to Run, his
Yeah.
autobiography, or watch or listen to. There is a full album available for his Springsteen on Broadway Netflix special. I
Yes.
must have listened to both at least 5 times or more.
Wow.
He's a great companion on a long road trip. I'll say that, and I
Great.
if only just to say thank you. I'd love to meet the man for sure.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
Eli, what is your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve. Wow, we're going in, Craig. We are going in.
Don't worry,
Um,
it's almost over.
okay, no, this is good. This is good. I'm really examining myself here. I think my biggest pet peeve is when folks dismiss other folks based on look, belief, action, or behavior. Um, I've been really noticing how much of a humanist I am, where like I like to believe in the best in people. I would like to believe that, anything's possible and hope exists, and no matter how wild and nuts the world looks, that, we have a lot more in common than different. From traveling around the country, from traveling around the world, and seeing how the divisions are almost like a commercial for the powers that be to, you know, have us feel like we don't have a friend or there's a lot of like antagonism between us.
Mhm.
I see it's frustrating to me to see folks buy into that so much.
Um,
So it's a
fear
pet peeve
is
of mine.
fear is a very powerful thing. I've seen it in my life. I see it in my friends and people that I live around. And you use the term humanist. I would qualify myself as that because I really think that, humans have the power to truly understand. We're the only species on this planet anyway that true can figure out, differentiate, and manipulate the environment in such a way that we can actually do stuff about certain things. But
Hmm.
a lot of those borders, I won't name names here, but a lot of those borders that you say are kind of pushed forth, they tend to separate. And in the
Yep.
end, I also consider myself more of an optimistic nihilist these days.
Ooh,
I
tell me more, Craig. Tell me
I
more.
don't. I'll leave it brief because this is your interview.
No, this is
But
great.
the I don't really believe that there's anything after this, and I don't believe that everything happens for a reason, but I do believe that I do know that there is a reason that everything happens. And because I have that knowledge, why would I want to add negatively to that? And why would I want
That's
anybody
good.
to add negatively to that? So, yeah,
That's really good.
so I say all of that to say I agree with what you just said. Last
Yeah.
question, normally of the questionnaire, Eli, is as follows. What is the best advice that anyone has ever given you?
Best advice that anyone has ever given me. I think it was probably to keep going. And I think I might have, I don't think it was like a personal advice. I think I just kind of picked it up somewhere on like a podcast and I can't remember who said it. But it was just like whatever happens, whether it's a failure or a success, um, there's no arrival. There's no moment. And if there is an arrival, it just keeps going anyways. So just keep going. And I think, Craig, that like people in this music business, that's the one deciding factor. Whether they are in quotation marks successful or not,
Hmm.
they just keep going. That's it.
Exactly. There's the old theory of the mine prospector that gave up 2 feet from discovering a platinum mine.
Yep.
I don't know if I don't know if I've dug for that, but I've enjoyed the dig so far. But
Yeah. And just to qualify that, when I say like, my music career is over at a certain point, to me, that is keeping going.
mhm,
To me, that isn't necessarily, like whatever, like, okay, that's done. It's like maybe something else will happen in music or in the whatever, just like having an opening for that. So just to qualify that last
yeah,
comment.
the only I see where you come from that because I'll be honest with you and anybody that's been following me all these years. I try my best to stay in today because I do see the scenario where it all fails and I just give up entirely. I'll let
Mhm.
that hang.
Yep.
So I try my best just to stay that focused in on the work. And I have one more record in me. I'm always writing, and I don't know what the next concept of the next gig is going to be, but I do try to just stay in the moment and try to enjoy it as much as possible because I don't want to see the scenario where I see me as a failure. So I try to avoid
Yeah.
that. Now,
Yeah. I mean, just,
go
just
ahead,
just to give you
please.
some kudos. Yeah, just to give you some props for that. Knowing about just like the next project and being like all in it. And it's like, yes, I have this. And also being in the place where it's like, it is the process. That is the thing. It is the game. It's not like getting the streams, it's not getting an award, it's not like, whatever. It is just like the actual day to day. It's like, okay, what's next? Kind of
Don't get me
thing.
wrong; it's nice to get invited to the party, but if you're at all like me, and I think most of us creatives are, we are loners at heart anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
we've
feel
learned
that.
anyway. Now, normally that is the last question of the questionnaire, but throughout this interview, it's been revealed that you are a teacher. And I
Hmm.
always like to give teachers a bonus question. It's so weird because
Oh,
a couple of minutes ago, I was just thinking about the man. I call this the Lonnie Billard Memorial question. And the question is
okay.
maybe not the best advice that you've given your students, but what is the most common advice that you've given your students?
I think the most common thing that I've given to my students is probably belief in oneself. Um, and that's really just kind of trying to shine a light on their capabilities. I've taught on the Navajo Nation. I've taught in Israel. I've taught in Andorra. Um, and there's different contexts around kids on whether or not they're going to make it or not. So trying
Make it as
to,
in live or make it
yeah, yeah, like, based in our environment, there's different expectations on us. And that goes both ways. It's like, if they aren't, if they don't, if they're like too successful, sometimes that's too much. So they'll bring it down. And sometimes they're not successful enough. So the culture tries to bring them up. So it's interesting. And whenever I see students who maybe didn't have that idea of themselves, that they could be and could go in whatever direction that they would like to. Sometimes it's just the right amount of spark that gives them a little bit more confidence to try something that isn't necessarily in their, in their wheelhouse or that they thought of before. So some of my students now, from the Navajo Nation, they're in New York. They're designers. They are Grand Canyon guides. They're lawyers. They're river raft, guides. And that's not necessarily something that I did personally, but something that, is possible. And I think that there is an optimism and a hope for all of us that at any age, and I see a lot of this in musicians that are starting music later on in life. There's no expiry date. There's an audience for everybody. And I think it is kind of encouraging to know that.
And just to jump back on your career path, it sounds like it's advice that you gave yourself because it sounds like you had full career, you had the game plan, and now you kind of set forth on this timeline. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I got into music in my mid 30s after a few different careers in teaching, and here I am 10 years later doing the thing, and finding my audience, which sometimes are folks older than me. And that is totally cool too. And also really awesome to know that it resonates with folks in all the age spectrums and all the countries of the world.
I released my first record when I was 29. So
whoa,
I totally I understand that timeline, and it's always wild to me who's because I thought I was the only one that was thinking this stuff, and I was going through this stuff. So it's nice to always, doesn't matter where it comes from, but to get that validation. So
yeah, who was it? Jimmy Buffett, who started music when he was in his late 40s, started writing country songs and just became the sensation.
I was talking about brought it up anyways with the interview subject I had a couple weeks ago, Christy Krause, who is a great trop rock singer. She refers to her music as that. And Jimmy Buffett is a huge influence on her, and she's also a TV host, which is a nice parallel with Jimmy, because Jimmy, to kind of get his foot in the door in the music business, was a journalist. He worked for Billboard magazine for many, many years. And that's how he started making his contacts and started throwing his songs that way. And eventually, we have Margaritavilles in every city.
Yes, we do.
Well, this is the part of the program, and I've thoroughly enjoyed your visit with us today, and I hope you have too. We have one more bit of business for you, which should be the favorite part of this program for you. It is time for shameless self-promotion. The new single and music video we will play at the end of this episode. How can people replay it and actually send some money your way? Kidding. And plug your pluggables, fire away.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. I've had a really awesome time connecting with you. Thanks for the deep questions, and thanks for bringing up where we come from. That music video just came out, and it highlights my community called the Levitators. And if people want to join the Levitators, get it? My last name is Lev, Levitators. They can go to my website.
Oh, I think it's already happening anyway. Oh,
no.
There
you go. You're levitating. Craig's levitating. So, yeah, folks are welcome to join there. I'm just starting my Northeast tour. I'll be going up and down the Northeast coast in New England, all the way up to Maine until October this year. So catch me at a town or state near you. And if not, if you're on the West Coast or Midwest, I will be there next year. So would love to have you sign up and join me on this incredible, magical, musical journey as a levitator.
Well, I certainly feel heightened and enlightened just talking to you and having listened to your music. You are a very talented and very insightful, not merely an artist, but a man. And I really do appreciate your time and your output. And thank you so much for joining me here today on the Craig-Veltri interview.
Thank you, Craig. You are yourself quite the mensch, and I appreciate your kindness and care in this conversation.
The Craig-Veltri interview, where Craig-Veltri interviews wonderful people, is a production of Scarfire Media, the voice of the independent artist. Written and edited by Craig Veltri. Your announcer is Megan Pennington. The opening theme, Shut Up, I Love You, written by Trenton Chandler and Craig Veltri. Performed by Craig Veltri. Produced by Jack Gavin. Inside the Cabin is available now on all streaming. Support Moonshine Vagabonds by downloading directly from Bandcamp. Time now to update the event calendar because you must know where I am at all times. Nashville and surrounding areas, I'm coming to see you this week. Friday, May 7th, I will be at Ragin' Axe in Clarksville, Tennessee from 7 to 10 p.m. Saturday, May 8th, a double header for you guys, beginning at Handcut at Embassy Suites, Nashville from 12 to 3 p.m. Brought to you by Jam Factory Entertainment. Then Saturday evening, I will be heading up to Sidelines in Pleasant View, Tennessee, helping out my friend Jessica McNair Miller from 7 to 10 p.m. Then rounding it out in Nashville area, down to Franklin on Wednesday, May 13th, Harpeth Hotels in Franklin, Tennessee from 7 to 10 p.m. For full dates, visit my website, craig-veltri.bandzoogle.com. For booking info, including full band in this podcast, email me at craig-veltri-official@gmail.com. You can find the interview on Facebook by searching the Craig Veltri Interview, YouTube at Craig Veltri Music, and you can find me on Instagram, or as my old roommate, the Tommy Thomas, used to call it, Instagirl, at craig.veltri. With special thanks to Danny Felt, another Felt find. For Eli Lev, I'm Craig Veltri. This has been the Craig Veltri Interview. With that, I'll pass. Here's the latest from Eli Lev. It's Where We Come From on the Craig Veltri Interview. Proud member of the Scarfire Media Podcast Network.
I took my backpack off coming home from class, opened up my homework. I had to ask my mom and dad where we come from. They sat me down and smiled at me, took out some old photos to let them breathe, and said, this is who we are and all we've done. It's the story of where we come from. My mom said, son, we come from a long line of workers. Most folks never heard of us, but that don't make us any less. We spun the cotton that most people wore. We built bridges after the war. Life back then was a lot more work than fun. Yeah, and that's where we come from. Working in the heat of a southern sun, we had to sweat to live. That's where we come from. Closely to my mom's reply, then took my hand and looked into my eyes and said, son, now let me tell you about my side. He said, we come from a long line of survivors. We escaped the fires, but they're still burning around the world. We made the shoes that most people wore. We built a city from a hardware store. Life back then was always on the run. Yeah, and that's where we come from. Over the oceans, through the slums, we had to leave to live. That's where we come from. And then one day I look in my daughter's eyes when she asks the same to me. I'll tell her about our family and each branch that made this tree. I'll say, we come from a long line of workers. Most folks never heard of us, but that don't make us any less. We spun the cotton that most people wore. We built the bridges after the war. Life back then was a lot more work than fun. Yeah, we come from survivors. We escaped the fires. They're still burning around the world. Oh, we made the shoes that most people wore. We built the city from a hardware store. Life back then was on the run. Hey, that, my love, is where we come from.
and it makes it into a ball about that big around of cotton. Not yarn now. This is not yarn yet. It's just cotton.